But US versus the world. So with SGA getting the MVP, the conversation was had on ESPN. I think it was First Take. Jay Will, Stephen A was there, Will Bond. And that was having a conversation saying that the reason why the MVPs can continue to be foreigners, I think the last 7 would, Embiid 1, SGA 1, Jokic 3. So that's 5. Who else got it?
Giannis 2.
Giannis 2. So it's all been people that's not born on U.S. soil, right? So they're saying that that's an indication of how bad the U.S. basketball is, and they're putting it on the grassroots, AAU and high school, right? And Jay Will kind of explained it. I play what he said, but before I even play it, my thoughts on that is that it's not really on the grassroots, because what the grassroots is doing is what they think is going to help them get to the NBA. So if the NBA is rewarding not playing defense and rewarding shooting a lot of threes and rewarding the Lukas and the Jokic's and stuff like that, then that's what the daggone grassroots are going to do, right? So that's number one. Number two is, it's funny that y'all just say, oh, just because they was born in Canada or born in Cameroon, that mean that the U.S. is behind. But SGA played high school ball over here, and then SGA also played at Kentucky and learned from Rod Strickland, and then came to OKC and learned from came to LA and learned from Kawhi, and then went to OKC and learned from CP3. And then his biggest idol is Kobe, right? So he's copying Kobe game, and he's learning from all these American people. I just don't understand how they just equate everybody that's not born here to saying that we're failing as NBA basketball. But I'll play for what he said.
The run of international players just doesn't speak about how great international talent is. I think it speaks more about how comfortable and complacent American players have become. Think about that for a second. Think about AAU basketball. Think about all the things that we prioritize. Highlights, mixtapes, IG reels. We much rather show people all the trick shots than actually put the time in the gym. Now, I'm not saying that speaks for every American player, but as a whole, that's where the American society is at. I had a chance to be a producer on Giannis's marvelous journey. When you get a chance to see how some international players live, how damn hungry they are, how fundamentally sound they are. And also, European basketball players here talk about like, oh, you have to go to European. You ever know how damn physical European basketball is? You hear some of these veterans, Isaiah Thomas, some of the greatest players to play our game, applaud the NBA for allowing the level of physicality to come back into basketball, which we've seen in the playoffs. Go over and watch European basketball. Go over and watch some of the traditionally historic teams play. You get a bow when you come down the lane. You get hit in the face. You get knocked down. Ain't no other teammate coming to help you. You get your own ass up. We have prioritized the showmanship of the game, Mike, and we have lost sight of what this game is about. Now, it just doesn't. There are players who are American players that play hard. I'm not saying that, but I do believe we focus on IG and other things instead of actually mastering the damn game. And all these dudes that we're seeing, they're mastering it.
Jay Will.
So what's y'all thoughts, man? Does the MVP going to foreigners the last 7 years indicate that the USA is behind the power curve at how we're teaching at the grassroots? Or is it something else, or is it a combination of things? What's y'all thoughts? Dominique, you go first because you've been waiting to go last on every topic.
I think that it's a combination of things. NBA Europe is a real thing that Adam Silver has been working on for a long time. So I think highlighting foreign players is something that helps when they're ready to finally get that league going. They're supposed to be making some moves, I think, in the next year or two. So, I think 11 cities are going to be, 11 European countries are going to have the NBA. So more to come on that, right? But I think that there's also there's a level of the patients taking over the asylum. So, there was so much oppression in the league going all the way back to its inception, right? Where, literally the commissioner back in, I think it was the 50s or 60s, said that Black people couldn't be marketed. And, you see just like this evolution in the league, civil rights, Bill Russell era, all of those things. You see players continually just trying to, whether it was getting contracts out of high school, that you just see all these different things, right? You see players get different things throughout the years. They've had to go on strike to get better rights and better, deals, and to get paid what they feel that they deserve. So, and even still, if it was a free market, these players are probably still not paid what they should be, even though we see these abnormal contracts. So when you take a look at all of this money that they're making and how hard they used to have to work to get the dollars that they made back in the day, they're going to take almost like a welfare approach. Hey, we were oppressed back then, and now we're going to take the things that we couldn't before. And so that's just what I see, players that are trying to make the most for doing the least amount of work. And they're not setting up players in the future, for these big contracts as well, because they're not working hard. So, I fear that CBAs and all of these other things
So
can.
privilege.
I think that it's, I don't know that it's privilege. I think it's almost like reparations. You did all these horrible things to me, back then, and we're going to take what we're owed now. And to hell with, if the house has to burn on fire.
So you think the American players, all right, so I'm trying to see if I understand it. So the American players, well, let me ask this first. Do you think that's like majority of the American players, or is it majority of the key American players like Durant, LeBron, and all those guys? Or you think it's like,
I do think it's widespread, because you remember the comment that Durant said, all I want to do is buckets, girls, and play ball, buckets, and girls, or something like that. Something like that. He said that's all he cared about. He didn't care about winning titles. It was just about playing basketball, buckets, and girls, or something like that, he said. They don't even seem to have like an appreciation for the opportunities that they have in front of them. And just in my opinion, when you see Tyrese Halliburton talk about the game, he sounds really grateful. It's not every single person, so I don't want to put it on superstars, but it's interesting, because some of the players that have had the most privilege in their lives, they, like Jalen Brunson, I don't think he takes a moment that he's on the floor for granted. So it's not every single person, I just think it has
but
to do
it's widespread enough, and it's enough of the key guys that.
Yeah, like just get your money. And you remember, who did we have on the show? Your buddy, your childhood friend, Eric.
But how would that show up in the MVP? Because what they're saying is the MVPs, the reason why the MVPs keep going to the foreigners, have like the Americans are doing something wrong.
Because the NBA can't invest in the American players because of the things that they're doing. So when you take a look at Ant-Man, he can't be like such a solid investment. And they've been doing this for years. What happened to Kobe in Colorado? He missed out on so many MVPs as a result of that, right? That tarnished his resume when, people hold things against him.
But listen, Jason Tatum is sitting right there in your face, and they keep denying Jason Tatum because the issue is like even you have American players that can be marketed and can be in the MVP race, but they'd rather have Luka in the MVP race than Jason Tatum, and it boils down to the NBA prioritizing things.
Well, what season would you have made Tatum the MVP?
He would have been in the race for me the last 3 seasons. He would have been top 3.
When would he have won for you?
He wouldn't have won. Because I think SGA, I would have voted for SGA last year. The year before last, I would have voted for Giannis. I mean, not Giannis, but Embiid. So I think Embiid was the correct vote. I think last year SGA was the correct vote, and I think this year SGA was the correct vote. However, I had Jason Tatum in my top 3 the entire season, all 3 of those seasons. And the NBA and the other voters had him like 5th or 6th. So what the message they're sending everybody is that even though Jason Tatum scores well, he leads the team, he rebounds, and he defends, and his team wins, we're not going to honor that because he's not doing points, rebounds, assists on a triple-double level, right?
Because that's what they're investing in. So the marketing is investing in points, rebounds, assists. When you go and look up a box score, that's the first thing you see. If you type in Knicks Pacers on Google right now, they're going to show us those stats. They don't show anything else. You have to go to dig into that. So that's what the NBA is invested in. So if
yeah,
he's
and I think that's the issue. They sent the wrong messaging out, Dom. And listen, if the most important thing to basketball is winning, right? So winning has to be part of every criteria, and then 50% of basketball is defense. So defense and offense have to be part of it, right? But what they're telling us is that winning is not as important as triple doubles, and neither is defense. Because if you're doing triple double work and you're not winning more than the other guys, and you're not defending, we're still going to consider you for first team All NBA and MVP over the guy that's doing the heavy work of winning more and playing defense while he's also scoring. So Tatum, I think that's the main issue. And then part of it, like you said, is a combination. I think just to hear somebody like Anthony Edwards not know his history and say there was no good players other than MJ in the 90s. And I don't want to be the face of the league because all this, and LeBron saying who wants to be the face of the league. I don't blame them because they critiquing us all the time and saying bad stuff is about like who talks like that.
But look at John Moran.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the dunk contest. Like, this is crazy.
But I don't want to get in the dunk contest, the guns. You know what I'm saying? So look at how the foreign players carry themselves with a lot more class. I'm sorry, Giannis, epitome of class. I mean, that guy, and what he does on the court, he's playing rugby, not basketball. But when he has to speak about something, when he talks about all-time greats, he has a lot of respect. He has respect for the game, the league, the opportunity that he has. He has a lot of respect for the NBA as an organization. The other players don't, and there's good reason for that, though. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they have.
Who are you talking about, though?
I was talking about Giannis. I was talking about foreign players being really classy. Giannis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kyrie is one of them as well, too, Don.
I'm sorry?
Kyrie is one of them. But listen, all the American players that could be up for MVPs have been slandered. So, I mean, not slandered, but their reputations shot. Like, like you said, Ja Morant, the guns, Anthony Edwards acting like a freaking idiot. Talking about he don't know his history. Kyrie Irving with all his stuff. Kevin Durant, the media hates him. LeBron James is a freaking grifter. Like,
I want to get more into the Tatum thing. Like, why do y'all think that? Because that's one thing we can say about Tatum. His name doesn't get dragged through the mud. He's not in any scandals. He's not saying a whole bunch of ridiculous things. Some of it seems regurgitated a lot of the times from other people. I know that's been a knock.
I can tell you exactly
what's the reasoning behind it.
Because there's a power dynamic question in Boston. A lot of these other players that are in the MVP conversations or should be in the MVP conversations, and Ja, Giannis, whatever, they're clear number ones. But there's a team identity crisis of who the true leader is, and everybody says it's Jason Tatum. Like, on paper, it should be Jason Tatum, but the game that is played in Boston on different occasions says different things. Some days it's Jason Tatum. Some days it's Jaylen Brown. And I think him having that caliber of a Robin that could be a Batman on his own other team, penalizes him. They weigh
Jaylen Brown, but see, that's a misconception. Jaylen Brown cannot be. Just 2 years ago, when they lost, before they won the championship, they had Twitter.
They lost to Miami.
Highlight reel of Jaylen Brown not being able to go left and losing the ball every time he dribbled with his left hand.
Oh yeah, we know that, but I'm telling you what the voters are saying, what the voters think.
Yeah.
I think that there's something else. There's another layer of it. It's non-basketball commentary, but Jason Tatum cried, and the media doesn't like that. Honestly, they really don't. I was surprised that Embiid got the MVP when he did, because he had been crying about MVP too. So, if
he actually had one stolen from him, though.
I'm just saying the media can't stand when they come out crying that they didn't get MVP. And the way Jason Tatum has cried, Devin Booker didn't get it when he cried. Multiple people, they don't get MVP ever if you come out criticizing the MVP voting process and how they go about doing that. So, I just think he's said a number of things, that he's underappreciated, he's underrated. He's come out and called himself the best player under 25 at times. Like, Jason Tatum, he's not. I don't know that he's so well liked in the media for some reason, and I don't think.
I don't know what it is, Don.
I don't think he's done anything. I don't even think he's done anything wrong other than the crying. That's the only thing that I can point to that they don't like.
Yeah, that's what my question
the
was.
fake Mamba mentality stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A lot of his stuff that he says seems regurgitated. It seemed like he's watching the Kobe script, something like that.
Performative. You know what I'm saying? And people don't like stuff like that. So we already have LeBron James doing it.
Yeah,
you know, we already had DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine pretend to have that flu game. You know what I mean? We have Halliburton doing the choke. Like, it's so crazy how they, take a poo-poo on the older generation, but they want to be like them so bad.
But you know that's why they do take a poo on them, because they want to, like, they really want to be like them so bad. And when they hear them talking bad about them, they're little
they're hurt.
Idols become
that's feminine energy on how they lash back. That comes from being raised by your mom and your dad not being around. You know what I mean? Like, men if we not seriously, men, if we thinking right, we won't lash out when authority comes. You get what I'm saying?
Mel is right. So Mel is right on this, because when you see how Halliburton responds to criticism, when you see how just some of the players that have either both of their parents or heavy influence of their father, they don't really come back saying anything crazy. They just don't. They don't need. They just don't need to have the last word, like the way that a woman might.
And Draymond does every single time.
He's sassy. He's a sassy dude. A sassy donkey.
Yeah. Sassy gorilla, man. But nah, I mean, it's because if you grew up with your pops, man, he go get on you a lot about stuff, and you go be okay with authority and an authoritative voice saying something that's supposed to correct you. And that's all the old school is trying to do, is correct them. Hey, we see the route y'all going is not a good route to go down there.
We live in
y'all can course correct, and we're critiquing you so you can course correct.
Yeah, we live in a generation where anytime any critique is always going to be considered hate. It's gonna always be considered hate. So if I say, "Hey man, Ant-Man don't shoot he's shooting the ball too much. He need to drive in the cup." Man, if somebody disagrees with that take, I'm automatically the hater. I'm automatically the hater. I'm automatically a person who doesn't like the young generation because of how old I am and how young they are. And I think that that's stupid.
Hating on somebody, oh, you hate this, it's like the most overword used. It's the most overused word in I don't know, in today's world, I think.
Yeah.